Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to the Adventure Travel Television Club show.
Whatever you say.
Yeah,
hey,
whatever
you know
that
what? As I see us on the screen like this, and it's reminiscent of all the trips that we've taken, and I find how exciting. And I say to you, Marv, is that really where we were? Did we see all those things?
Yeah, we did. In fact, what we're seeing right now, we are at Bunratty Castle, and what you were just seeing a moment ago was a little church that was in the Bunratty Folk Park. And we'll talk more about that as we get into it. But this is Bunratty Castle, and the castle is a cross between the earlier Norman castles and later Gaelic tower houses. Got that, Betty?
No, I don't.
But
I don't want you to repeat it, so
well,
that's
I won't,
okay.
But they got me in the stocks.
Well,
there
you
anyway.
know, that was a good idea. We should have been able to
Should've
do
stayed
that
there.
before. Yeah, that'll teach you to behave.
Well, I guess it probably would, you know. Anyway, I wanted to say that this is these castles that we see. Now, you're taking a look here at how the village around the castle changed over the centuries. And, of course, this is right on the River Shannon, and where we're going to visit also in the next show, too, where we'll visit a very exciting place, which is not too terribly far from here. Anyway, you see the castle looks a little bit different than I think that most people believe or have an idea of castles in Europe, such as the castles in Germany, which are more storybook type of things. These were very functional. These were...
What's Gort? Excuse me. Tell me about Gort.
That was the Count and the Vice and the Countess. They were the ones that...
Is that a little county?
No. They were...
Gort?
Oh, well, probably their names. There was a millionaire here, and they were the ones that put up the money and redid, brought Bunratty Castle back to what we see today. So, and thank goodness that they did and that they had the money to do that, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to experience the wonderful times that we had here. Now, Betty and I had been here about 10 years before, and I think if you go back and look at those shows...
10 years.
I know, a long time ago, right?
Oh, God.
Anyway, they made Betty and I they have a dinner there at night, and they made Betty the lady of the castle, and they made me lord of the castle. And we're going to show you the interior of the castle in just a minute. This is sort of a cutaway that you see here. But as you go into the castle, and most of these, you see there was a big stone. It's not a drawbridge, but they can let that thing down so that people can't get into it. But as you get into it, you're on...
It's a drop bridge.
Well, I was going to say,
No, because you said it just goes down. I just said that when you said a drawbridge.
Well, a drop door.
A drop door.
Anyway, this is where they're holding the banquets today. And when we got in there, Betty and I said, wait a minute, this doesn't look like where we've been before. So I asked one of the people, I said, is this where you've always held the banquets? He said, no, they were upstairs. I said, well, where are you holding them down here? He says, because of safety reasons. You see, everybody's come into the modern age, and I guess maybe OSHA has hit Bunratty Castle. I'm not quite sure. But anyway...
Well, you know probably why the safety would be there. They were serving lots and lots of mead, and it had an alcoholic content. So maybe over the period of time, a couple of them got excited and flipped over the balcony there.
Could have done that. I remember they were very generous in what they served.
It was such fun. It's one of the most fun things that we've done, I think, when we were there.
It was
yes.
Great. Okay, that's the little mechanism there that will lower that door that you were talking about. Now, we're up above on the second floor looking down, I guess it's the second floor, but looking down on this main floor, of course, now where they do hold the banquets in the evening, which is very nice because they have the music and you have to eat with your fingers and it's all really good food.
Oh, just like at home.
Just like at home. And these are the steep stairs. Now we're going up to the second floor, and this is Betty, is where about 10 years ago where we had our big feast here, and it was wonderful.
It was great. You see, your perspective would be so much better up on the balcony because you're looking down, and I'm glad we didn't eat there this time.
Me too, because we had more time. We were there during the daytime, and we had more time to visit the folk park. But you noticed just a moment ago we were looking up at the ceiling, and there was a hole up there. That's because right in the middle of the floor is where the peat fire is done. Now, they had fireplaces in, of course, almost every room to heat the place there, but they also made a fire right in the middle of the floor. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I guess it was just so cold that you needed to have a a warmer there or something.
Anytime that you have the stone itself is so cold. Of course, it's a great insulator, but I don't think you'd get everybody want to stand around the fireplace, and everybody wouldn't get to stand there with the back to their fireplace.
So I guess not. Anyway, all I know is that it can get very, very cold there in the wintertime, and so as many fires as you could have, I guess that would be appreciated, I suspect.
I would imagine they had a lot of lung problems, though, Marv, because of that, because of the smoke inhalation.
Probably.
Yeah.
And when you there's the fire right there, and that's got wood on it. But most of these were peat fires, and that peat.
Will you repeat that, please?
Peat fires.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and it does have an odor to it,
That was a joke,
Oh, I got that.
Did you get it? Oh, okay. I thought it went right over your head.
That was one of the chapels that was inside the castle, and there's more than one. And as we had a chance to go ahead and discover so many rooms that were in it, the castle didn't look too terribly big from the outside, but when you get in the inside, you see so many rooms that were in here. There were other kitchens on other floors, and I just thought it was just fascinating. And see, now this is a pretty big fireplace. In fact, that you cooked there because of all the utensils that were there, so that was actually another kitchen that was in the castle.
They probably had a large retinue there because
they did have.
They needed all the workers probably. Sure. Well, I don't know that they would live in the castle or not. Well, the cooks and the blah da 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 da, the servants.
Yeah. Well, they had to be there on call, I'm sure, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And they also had a chaplain that lived there. They had his own chapel as well. I couldn't figure out why they had a canopy over that bed, because that was a solid roof, up above.
Yeah, okay, so remember what we found out about why they had the canopies over
their
beds?
Yeah, because usually they were in straw. The houses were, or the roofs were straw attached, right? And that's where the mice and the rats would would nest, and they might fall in your bed during the middle of the night, or in your mouth. Anyway, here's the Earl's private chapel, which was up on another floor. And I want to say, if you do visit Ireland, this is one place that you want to visit is Bunratty Castle and the Folk Park, and you can spend a good half to a full day here. That's an old clock. Look at that. Isn't that something? Centuries old. But you can spend a lot of time here, and it's really well worth your time to go and visit.
It's always on the agenda for tourists to go here to Bunratty Castle. I mean, I don't think anyone would go to Ireland and not go here.
You'd be surprised.
You think so?
Yeah, well, because we keep discovering that there are so many places in Ireland to see and to visit. Now, I just shot this through like a hole in the wall, and I think this is where the servants could peek in, see what's going on the main floor there. Oh. And isn't that neat?
Or vice versa.
There was a little kitchen right off of there, so in the early days. So that was I guess that's probably they say, hey, bring us some more food, whatever.
Yeah.
And they could take a look there.
I look at this and I think about how really primitive it is, although it was for the time fine. But how cold. And, they had to wear lots of clothes to keep warm.
And they didn't have any thermals.
And there's no water to bathe. I mean, just imagine how in the wintertime it must not have smelled so great. So maybe the fireplace disguised some of the smell, huh?
You know what? Maybe that's why the peat fire is so popular. Because it did have its own odor. You might have a good thing there. There's a Shannon River that you see here. Not very wide, but it's a very strategic location as we can see, and that's from the top of the castle looking down.
Marv, I had no idea that the Shannon River was as large as it was and as navigable as it was.
Oh yeah. You can that's the largest river in Ireland, and you can take a boat up and down the river, or I don't know. Do they have barges there?
I imagine they have barges everywhere. I didn't see any, no, but I just thought the Shannon River, from where the River Shannon flows, it just sounds like a little picturesque.
Yeah, well, it's not a wide river in a lot of places. This was the chaplain's quarters there, and we could see that.
What's that round thing?
Where?
Oh, that's.
That's the building. That's.
It looked to me like it was a tank of some kind. I'm sorry.
No, we're going to go now into the folk park, which we showed you some of before. And in the folk park, there's also a village, which is sort of gives you an idea of what rural life in Ireland looked like about 100 years ago. And Betty, this is the schoolhouse. It's divided to boys on one side and girls on the other. And we're going to read something in here that we want you to see, because the Catholics were not allowed to have schools during the time when the British controlled Ireland. And we can see here that they had what they called hedge schools here. So you couldn't teach the Catholic faith at that particular time. And so we can read this, as you can see, as we're talking about it. And later on, of course, after the English left, then the Irish national school system was established. I guess it was in 1831. But we're going to see that as we go through Ireland. And you know, Cromwell sent his troops over from England, and they destroyed so many of the nunneries, so many of the church buildings that were there, and really starved out an awful lot of the
terrible.
people. Horrible.
There's really something funny. Now, the O'Neills traveled with us when we went to Ireland. Great couple. She teaches at, or I don't know whether she's still principal at Our Lady of Victory. But anyway, these good Catholic Irish people live on Cromwell Street.
Cromwell Street.
Yes,
Oh boy,
yeah.
That's something. Well, we were taking a look here at what would have been a doctor's house, and you see the little thing there on the bed? I think that's a bed warmer, Betty.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they filled that full of hot water.
It looks like he was a heavy man. Look at that. He's sunk in the middle.
Right. And that's what you used 100 years ago. It was the old sewing machine like that.
Still being used today.
I think it is still being used today. So somebody invented something very nice. Anyway, they have this is sort of like a living museum, and you can spend quite a bit of time here. And there's also a pub, an active pub, and you can
Very important part of the journeys.
Yes,
are
indeed.
Those
and there are some of our
Irish
travelers there
pubs.
enjoying a little after dinner or after lunch.
Or before lunch or after lunch or
grub,
before
right.
dinner or after dinner, whenever it grabs you.
I think it was lunch. Anyway, we've moved up to Limerick, up on the Shannon some more, and we are visiting now a place that is really exciting. This is King John's Castle, and it was built to defend the river frontier between the Gaelic West and the Norman Leinster and Munster.
Oh, I love those words.
How
Say them
about that,
again.
huh?
Say them again.
Leinster and Munster.
Munster. But
I got those?
Yeah. Munster seems more. Do they have some little comic figures on television called the Munsters?
That was the
Or was that
Munsters.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Anyway, here's King John himself.
Okay.
He was a little short guy, and you know he didn't have very good history. In fact, I think wasn't he the brother of the King Richard the Lionheart?
Were those with his servants with him?
No, those were our adventure
I know
travelers.
who they were. I'm just teasing.
Anyway, Betty, you remember that
Tell me about King Richard.
about King Richard? He was his brother,
Yeah.
King John's brother.
King John's
Richard
brother.
the Lionheart. Anyway,
Okay.
King John was sent by his father to Ireland at a young age. I think about 18 years of age, wasn't he, Betty?
Yep,
Something like
that's
that.
exactly what he was.
And this guy didn't do a very good job. In fact, I think they called him back home to England because he sort of made a mess of things over there. But anyway, I will say, and there's the peat that you can see right there. That's what it looks like.
That's
Anyway,
a pretty good replica there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, very
that's what
good
I'm saying,
colors.
that's such a great
Are
job.
very bright and almost lifelike.
Yeah. But look at here. I want you to notice the shoes.
Okay.
I think the shoes have come back in date.
Well, the women are wearing them that way. I'll tell you, with those
pointy
pointed
things, How
toes.
in the world with those?
Oh my God! Think if you got angry with someone and you hauled off and gave them a kick, they'd really feel it, wouldn't they?
I
Huh?
think so.
Bruised
I really do.
chins.
Anyway, they have done a beautiful job here in the castle, and this castle, of course, was a fortification. A lot of things, of course, went on. I mean, this was like the seat of government during that time, and it's just they have done a beautiful, beautiful job. And as you can read some of these things as we tell you more about it. But you know, during the 17th century, they sieged the castle several times, and in fact, in 1651, it was surrendered with the city to Cromwell's army. Well, of course, that meant that the English had taken over, of course. But they had some very interesting ways in which they were to attack the castle. Now, if you take a look at a castle like this, you see that the castle walls are really huge. And how in the world are you going to scale those? I mean, you know, you've seen
thick,
it all.
Huh?
Pardon me?
Thick. Wide?
Oh, yeah, very, very wide. And then you look at the courtyard. Now, of course, it looked like part of it may have been open to the Shannon River. And what we're seeing, pardon me, in front of us was where more of the excavations have just been done. And then we went even down below, because underneath the castle, we were able to see that there were houses there. We'll see the ruins of those in a moment. And those were built by the Vikings. Now, you know, the Vikings played a very, very important part in Ireland.
Yeah, you're just bragging because that's your stock.
That's true.
You are a Viking.
They were the first ones that up in Dublin made the first community up there, and they found that the houses that we'll see the remnants of in a little bit were here and also down in Waterford. So they were all over Ireland.
They were really a talented group of people, weren't they? The Vikings.
Well,
with
you know,
all
I
of
think
their
they get a bum rap. Of course, there were some Vikings that were marauders and raiders and all that, but a lot of them, of course, were traders. I mean, they went clear down into the Middle East and all over the place. But had it not been for them, probably some of the little town life would have developed a lot later, you know, in Ireland.
Because they came into these towns and then they produced.
Well, it's true.
I mean, they married, they had families, and then
and they intermarried with.
That's why so many people from Ireland, and so many other countries too, do have Viking blood in their veins.
Sure. Well, you know, we think that travel is something that we just do in this day and age, but it was done on all sorts of centuries. Now, here you go.
Those are spooky.
All right, I'm trying to hang on to the camera and trying to hang on to
yeah, it's spooky to go down. Oh,
you know,
man.
people say, well, oh, golly, wouldn't it be fun to just spend a lot of time in a castle? Well, not if you're going upstairs, up and downstairs this way. Now, can you imagine the servants in a castle like this? How would you carry a tray of gruel?
Very
or
carefully.
It may be up and down these stairs, you know?
Well, now maybe, though, now I don't remember, were the living quarters upstairs, or were most of the living quarters downstairs?
And
like
this
the kitchen?
One,
yeah.
I'm not sure, because they didn't have what they call a keep in this castle, or an area, I guess, a living area. But they did have a mint. Look at there. This is the place where they were making money. Here, I mean, where they were making money, producing money.
We have
manufacturing money.
We have people doing that here in the United States, making their own money too. Only we call that counterfeiting.
Yeah, but this would probably be hard to do, because I think these were made out of gold.
Oh.
They weren't the paper notes as such. But
is that right? Was it gold? Huh? That
yeah,
they did
I think so.
Huh?
Yeah. Can you imagine, though, all of the wonderful things that must have happened in this great big courtyard over the period of time?
What were the tents? I don't remember. Why were the tents there?
Well, I think that was just for some sort of an exhibition, which they do, you know, from time to time. And look how they fished in medieval times.
Isn't that amazing?
Now, that's ingenious, isn't it?
Sure.
Look at that. That's a trap for fish. That's really great. Now, these are some of the excavations that they're working on now. And, you know, this only started a few years ago in earnest, and they are now discovering more and more and more and more. And I just think to me, it's absolutely
Is that
fascinating.
peat that we just saw?
Pardon me?
Was that peat?
Yeah. Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I hate to repeat myself,
That's
but
okay.
I just wanted to have that clarified.
Well, you know, a lot of people have never seen peat before, and on the next show, we're going to go through the peat bogs. And we will show you where the peat actually comes from.
Look at even his hand looks real, doesn't it? Huh?
Right. See, they've done a beautiful job here of recreating this. Now, this is a place I wouldn't want to spend too much time in case there were an accident, because this is where they kept all the powder and kept the cannons and kept the weapons in this particular area of the castle. But they made a beautiful display here, and it's really, really quite nice, I think. Now, we are going down underneath the castle, and this is where we see what we call the sunken houses. And look at the date on those, you know.
What is that, 1180 and
right.
to 1210?
And as we mentioned just a little bit before, this is not the only place where these sunken houses were found. They were found down in Waterford and also up in Dublin as well. So a little bit dark down here, but you can still see and they're doing more excavations, I think, which is really fascinating.
Why did they have the homes under the ground like that? Was that a defense mechanism that they used, or was that utilitarian? It was warmer if they were down there. Why do we know?
Probably cheaper rent.
No, really,
I think you're right. No, I think you're right the first time. I think that
safety.
It probably was warmer. Oh. And well, you look in the Middle East. Remember in the caves there?
Sure.
You know.
Well, look at Jesus was born in a cave,
right.
and that was wonderful for him. Actually, even though it would have been nice to have been at the inn, but it was warm. The animals were there and made it warm for him too. You know.
And we still see. Remember when we went to Turkey? And we were in the central part of Turkey, and we see that still people can carve things out of the mountains and live in caves. It's warmer and it's cooler.
Remember the cave we went into that St. Paul had done his preaching, and they had still had the painted murals up there, and that's where they held their
caves
church.
Always have been very
utilitarian actually.
That's right. Now we're going to see a little bit of how some of this might have been when they were working with the castle. And Betty, what we said was those walls were so very, very thick, but they did a little mining, the people that wanted to come and take over the castle. And so they went underneath the castle. And
what do you mean mining?
Well, you dig up like a mine.
Okay.
And so then they brought all sorts of wood and things in, and they would set that on fire, and that would weaken the walls of the castle. And we're going to listen to a little bit of that right now as our narrator takes us through. This is a little bit is dark in here, so you're going to have to kind of use your imagination to see them digging underneath.
And within 3 hours, the town began to lay at us with their muskets. The enemy shot little at us on the 29th of May, but we could still hear them going on with their work as they laboured to undermine us. We began our countermining on the east side of the castle on May the 30th. On June the 1st, we could hear them at work mining in St. Nicholas Yard, but we could not shoot at them with our muskets because a wall sheltered them. This evening of June the 2nd, the moon was full, but she was not fuller of light than our hearts were of heaviness, fear, and sorrow. The tides and winds were fair, but no ships appeared, no help, no comfort, only hunger, sickness, and weakness. Our fortunes improved little over the next 2 weeks. By the morning of June the 17th, we perceived a great crack in the bulwark of our castle from top to bottom. And to increase our woe, we discovered another drift of our enemy's mine, which was run within the walls. What grieves the hearts of many is the woeful yelling of the many miserable, sick, starving, and dying, so that we are glad when they die and their wails cease. When the upper part of the bulwark fell down, almost as far as the Sallyport door, about 1 o'clock on the morning of June the 21st, we realized that we were in imminent danger and that it was impossible to continue. Our captain wrote to the general of the enemy concerning terms of surrender. We finally yielded up the castle on the 23rd of June. Every one of us began carrying our goods from the castle to the house assigned to us by the terms of the surrender. We met many old acquaintances. 57 of us died during the small time we stayed in the house due to the change of diet. In total, 280 of us died during the siege.
You'd just be weird and thinking about all I heard and saw. All those poor young boys trapped on Thomond Bridge because an officer lifted the drawbridge while they were retreating and left them outside to be killed. Most of them were shot or drowned. Oh, it was horrible.
General Sarsfield, Bishop, Maréchal Toussaint. Who ordered the raising of the drawbridge?
I gave the order, General.
Taisez-vous! It was an order given in good faith.
If satisfaction is thought necessary, I am at your service.
Keep your satisfaction, boy. I have no wish to add your death to the 700 who lost their lives on that bridge.
A great loss. A very sad loss, but not intended. The alternative was to allow the enemy to march into Limerick.
An alternative? So, 700 men die as an alternative,
I may remind you, Sarsfield, that it was Clifford's Irish Brigade that allowed Ginkle to throw a bridge across the Shannon.
Clifford was driven back by superior numbers, sir.
So his story goes.
What do you imply, Maréchal? If you have something to say it.
They want to go home to France. They intend to go home alive. So the Irish, they are losing hearts.
Conditions must be bad in the garrison.
The deserters tell us of hunger and disease, and everywhere suspicion and recriminations. They do not trust one another, those Jacobites. Believe me, soon they will want to parley. While they are making up their minds.
Well, what we were looking at here was a multimedia presentation of part of the history of the castle, and also, we're talking about a lot of history right here. So we're just kind of giving you a thumbnail just to kind of whet your appetite. And if you do visit Limerick, you do want to visit King John's Castle, because there is so much to see. We're just kind of giving you a little bit of the highlights right here. And this was a big presentation, and it went on for quite some time. But if you watched the whole thing, if you were there, you would understand a lot of the history of Ireland.
Now, I don't remember why he was sick, or was he shot, or
he was shot.
He was shot.
The priest was there giving him the last rites.
Was that? I thought it was a doctor giving him a potion.
Well, it could have been both. You never know. Anyway, that was just part of our visit to Limerick, and also to King John's Castle. And for me, it was a very, very exciting time to be able to visit that, and I'm glad that we had that opportunity as well. So again, if you visit Ireland, this is one of the things that you want to put on your itinerary, right, Betty?
Yeah, and everybody should go to Ireland.
I think so too.
I think we've been there 3 times. At least I know been 3 or 4 times, that we've been there. And in all of the travels, when you go back again, you think, oh, we didn't see that. Isn't that great?
And they've added so much more, that's what's great.
Hey,
Betty, it's just about time for us to go. So if people are interested in the trips that you have coming up,
give me a call at 559-488-7443, and I have lots of information to give you. So call me, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, you've got some brochures and some one-sheets. So do give Betty a call, and we will see you next time on the Adventurers Travel Club television show. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.